Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this is a new series. This series is called making an RPG game. So in this video it's gonna be about character customization. It's not gonna be complete. I'm not gonna have races reroll or weapon selection. Right now it's just the face and the shirt and the pants and the race. So there's a mechanic for that. And yeah, this is a new series. I'm gonna be making a lot of stuff like bosses, classes, currency, leveling. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, we need to do the data saving. So first, you need to get profile service. So you can look up profile service. We're gonna be using this for the data save. It's made by lol aries, I think. Yeah, I think that's the guy. Profile service. Use this, and let's get into the database first. So make a folder in server script service db, call it db for database, and let's make a new module for profiles. So all the profiles will be put here, and let's go into the data handler. So what profile service does is that it uses, oh my god, what is this? So what profile service does is that it uses a template. Look, as you can see, this is our profile template. We have appearance, and we can add more stuff later, like money and whatnot, like 100 or something like that. So what profile template does is that when you get the player's profile, you can it's actually a table. You get the player's profile, it's a table, and you can get appearance by doing profile.appearance and then .weapon. So usually you have to get the database, get the data, put it in the table yourself and organize it yourself, right? But here it's organized for you. You organize it in a table, and you can store the profile anywhere. It's like a state. You can use it anywhere in the server, and if you want to use it in a client, then you have to replicate it in the client. So that's profile template. Maybe I'll make a tutorial for profile service, but this is not the video for it. Require profile service. This can go later for render appearance. We don't even need this. Okay, so here get profile store. This is for get database, and the database name, data store name, it's player data, whatever. And then we get the profile module right here inside of this folder, profiles. So we make so whenever a player is added, or whenever a player already exists in the server, it calls the player edit function, which loads the player's profile, and then it automatically gets the table for you, which is the profile template. So now we have the profile, which has access to everything like the appearance, and inside of the data it's this. So this is not the profile, but this is inside profile.data, and then profile has other values that we wouldn't has other values that isn't relevant here. So here, this is the key. So as you can see in regular data store, to get a data from a player or from a key, you need to add in the key. So here it's player_player.userid. So we load the profile, and then we check if the profile is nil. If it isn't, if the profile exists, then we add the user ID, we reconcile, we listen to release. So if the profile is released, we remove the profile from the profiles table, and then we kick the player. And if the player exists, then we put the profile in the profiles module, and then we fire client profile change, which is a remote in here, a remote in replicated storage profile change. And if the player doesn't exist, then we release the profile. So it's just cleaner to use than the regular data store. It uses the regular data store. It's basically a wrapper that adds in his own features, his own checkings, his own security checks that we don't have to implement ourselves, which is good. And that's it. If the players leave the game, then we remove the profile from the profiles module and we release the profile. So here, as you can see, we have the profile change remote, and in the replicated storage we have a module for profiles client. It's just a module that has the data, because profiles have data, and we have client data which we're gonna be using for our appearance. And here's the thing, we don't put in multiple players in this module like in the profiles module. It's empty because we want to put in multiple players. So it's index and the player 1. Oh my god, this metal is so annoying. Player 1, and then it has its own database. It has its own profile with its data, and then appearance, like that. But here, this is only for the client. We're not going to be using it for other players. It's just for your own client. Okay, so make that profiles client module, and then in star player scripts, we make a new local script, client's profile. We get the profile client, the module, and then we get the remote event. So when it's on client event, we receive the profile, and then we put the data, and then we put the profile inside of the data. So what the profile is, I forgot to mention this. We send the profile data, not the profile itself, because profile itself, you will receive an error that tables cannot be cyclic, because profile has a lot of values, it has a lot of cyclic values, and we only need the data anyways. So let's just send the data, and then we put the profile data inside of profile client data, and then that's it for the simple database, simple data store. That's enough. Now that we have the profile, we can be using it anywhere in the server script and also in the client script. Well, in the client script, the profiles do not change, but the thing is, we only need it for character appearance right now. Maybe in the future we need it for something more, but we're gonna be handling that later. So now that the data is stored, we can use the profile anywhere we want, in the client, in the server, in any script. Let's handle the customization. So here in workspace, we have a teleporter, customize TP. So whenever we press the customize button, we create a new rig. It's not actually our player, and we teleport the rig here, customize TP. The rig is inside of replicated storage in assets. Start a rig, and we have shirts, races, pants, and faces. The rig gets teleported here, and then you can spin it around. Okay, so let's look at what the GUI looks like. So here in starter GUI, we have screen GUI, and then we have the left menu, and then also the right menus with two buttons, customize and complete. It's a text button. Complete is when you want to complete the customization. So what does the left frame look like? The left frame looks like this. It's a scrolling frame with text buttons like face, gender, pants, race, shirt, weapon, something like that. And then on the right menu, there's no script here, by the way. The script is only inside here and in the right menus. So in the right menu, we have a lot of folders which has the same name as the left buttons. So make sure the names are the same. Race is race, face is face, it's case sensitive. And in face, or inside of one of these folder, it has two children, the script and the frame. That's the format. Script and a frame, script and a frame. Local script, by the way. So let's see. So let's say the face. The face looks like this. It's just a frame with a scrolling frame, and inside the scrolling frame we have image buttons right here. See? It's just a scrolling frame with image buttons. Pretty simple. And in gender, it's just two buttons, male and female. Same thing, using UI padding and other UI tricks. The pants is just a next and previous button, nothing crazy. Same thing for this shirt. Where is this visible? There we go. The race, it's a reroll button, but right now it's not functional because it's gonna take a lot to make it functional. That's for the next video maybe. So let's turn off visibility to false. So the format is simple. Right menu says the folders. The folder has the name, and each folder has a frame and a local script. It's pretty clean. You can make new menus. Just make sure it exists on the left button. So this is what the customize looks like. We have user input service and run service. We have render appearance, which I'll get into later. We have profile, the profile client, so we can get the data. We have complete customization, the remote, player, camera, GUI, customize, complete, the left menu, which is a frame, and the right menus, which is a folder right here. And now this is our states. We have the selected option, which could be either face, gender, pants, race, shirt, or weapon. And customizing whether the player is customizing or not. And then we have states for the rig, rotating, whether we're rotating the rig, and last mouse position, which is where our last mouse position is. So here we have a button. So we loop through the left menu, which is a frame, by the way. We check if the button is a text button. If it is, then we add in a button.activated event. If it's connected, then we check if selected option exists. If it exists, then we check right menu, index it with selected option, which is a string, dot frame, which is here, dot visible to false. So which basically means that the previous selected option, which could be shirt, and then let's say you clicked on pants, the shirt has to disappear. So that's why we did this. And then we set the new selected option with button.name, which is this, the button.name, face, gender, pants, race, all that stuff. And then we set the visible to true. Pretty simple. Right menu, the name of the menu, the frame, visible to true. So when the left menu is visible, you can click on any of these buttons and it will show up, and the right menu will show up accordingly. That's how button works. Now customize. So we check if the profile data exists using next. Next basically means if there's any value inside the table. So if it doesn't exist, then it's gonna return. It's gonna stop the script. We clone the starter rig, which is just a rig, in replicated storage. Let me see. Starter rig. It's just a rig in replicated storage. See, it's just a simple rig. Certain assets you can insert it using avatar, rig builder, R6, block avatar. Simple as that. Put it inside of assets. We clone it, and then we get the root part. So we look through our character's accessory. Okay, we check if the child of the character, since we're looping through everything, the body part, the hair, everything is an accessory, and the accessory type is hair, since we only want to keep the hair and we want to remove everything else. We clone the hair and put the hair inside of our dummy, and then the accessory will have a handle, accessory weld, and part 1. Part 1 is usually the body part, and then we set it to head and we parent it to the rig. So like look at this. This has an accessory, pink hair, handle, and accessory weld. Part 1 is the head. See? And now we put the starter rig in workspace and we render the appearance. I'll explain this later, do not worry. But for now, we set the C frame to customize TP, which is the green part. We anchor it. We set left menu visible, the complete button to visible, customizing the true, and then we set the camera to scriptable, which means that we can script it, which means that the players cannot control it, which means that we can control it however we want in the script. So we set the C frame of the camera to the torso position, plus C frame look vector times 7, which means it's in front of the root part by 7 studs, and then it's a little bit above the root part by 1 stud, and then it's looking at the torso. So C frame has two values, the position and the orientation. It's looking at the torso position. Pretty simple. And now we have complete.activated. We get the character from our player, we get the humanoid from our player. We set customizing to false. We set left menu visible to false, complete visible to false. We check if there's a selected option. If there is, then we set visible to false. Check if the customize menu exists, of course. If it does, set the visible to false. Set the camera type to custom and set the camera subject back to our humanoid, because the default is a camera subject, which means it's following that humanoid. And then we destroy the starter rig and we complete the customization, which I will explain later, because here I'll explain how to rotate the character. So here I use user input.input again. We check if the input type is mouse button 1 and if customizing is true. If customizing isn't true, you wouldn't want to rotate the dummy, because if anything, the dummy could probably not exist if it isn't customizing. We set rotating to true and we set the mouse position to our mouse position right now, input.position.x, because we want to rotate the dummy by our X position in our mouse. So when there's an input changed, which means if we move our mouse, press any button and whatnot, we check if it's rotating here, as you can see, and we check if the input type is mouse movement. If it is, then we find the starter rig that we cloned, as you can see, starter rig that we cloned in the workspace. We get the humanoid part, we get the delta, the last mouse with our current mouse, minus the last mouse position. It's math, I don't understand, but it's math. We got the last mouse position. Basically, this is our current position, this is the last mouse position, and then we set the last mouse position to our current position for the future. And then we set the C frame to cframe.angles math.radius delta times 0.5, which means the character rotates by 0.5 intervals. And now that's cool. Now the dummy gets teleported and it can rotate. So let me comment out the script that you wouldn't have, which is render appearance, which is a fire server. You wouldn't have this, right? So now what customize would look like in your perspective is this. It's just a dummy. You can spin it around, which is cool, but there's no appearance. So you remember how each right menu has their own script? So I'll get into that right now. Let's go into the face. Here we get the profile client, the player, the render appearance, the face from assets, the folder, which is our folder, the frame, which is here, the scrolling frame, which is here, image buttons, which is a table that contains all the which will contain the image buttons, which will contain all the images, the faces we have, and then the selected face, which is a state. So I'll show you what the assets look like, okay? Faces is just a bunch of decals. Pants, it's a bunch of pants. You insert it like this, pants. and then you put in the pants template. Races, I'll explain that later. Shirts, bunch of shirts with the shirt template, and then we have the starter rig, and then the races. So what are races? So we have folders for the race name. There's 2 races right now, goblin and human. So it's just a rig. Let's see. This is the goblin. So it has the folder name and then a rig instead of it named rig. It's always named rig. As you can see, there's colors and there's race accessories. What are race accessories? Race accessories are accessories that do not use accessory object. It doesn't use it. So because there's a lot of people that make races and you want to add in extra accessory like wings, people usually weld it to the torso or to the arm manually instead of making the accessory object. So because a lot of people do that, I decided to make a folder for race accessories. This is for manually welded accessories. But if you're going to add in the accessory object, then we could work with that. It's a lot simpler. We just clone it and we put it inside of our character. But here's the format, which is the part, and then there's a weld. Part 0 is always the part that it's connected to. Part 1 is always the accessory. So whenever you clone the accessories, you set the welds part 0 to your character's head or to the dummy's head. And then we have body colors. So we don't change body colors by changing the head here, the color here, green here or red here, because it would never work in the game, as you can see, because Roblox actually uses body colors right here. Body colors. Set the colors here, here. It's pretty organized this way too, right? So what we do in races is we clone the race accessories and the body color, and then set the welds and whatnot. So that's the assets. I've explained everything in assets. So in render face, let's say, so we loop through the faces in the faces replicated storage. We set the frame to scrolling frame. We make a new image button. We parent it to scrolling frame, and we set the texture to the faces texture. We added a border pixel size. So because I want to click on a face, and then it will add a border, which is cool. And then we insert the image button to the image buttons table so that we can access it easier. So when the image button is activated, the previous face is image button selected face. Okay, and then once we get our previous face, we change selected face to index, which is gonna be the previous face in the future. We set image button border pixel size to 2 so we can see the border. So you can see the border so that you can see which face you're clicking on. And then we render the face, and we set the client data .appearance.face to the face name to number. So the faces have numbers as their name, but they're strings for now, so we set it to number. So the reason why we're adding the face in client data appearance is because we're gonna be saving all the changes we've made in the client, and then we're gonna be sending it in the server when we've completed the customization. Okay, so now that you know how the faces work, I'll be showing you the pants later, but how does render appearance work? Okay, how does render appearance work? So here we have a module in replicated storage. We have the profile client and we have the render appearance. This is the appearance I made: type, weapon, shirt, pants, face, race, gender, male or female. The weapon is a string, the shirt is a number, face is a number, race is a string. In render appearance, I add in a type. You don't have to, but it's really good because you can add in autocomplete. See? Right now, it's simple. We clear the appearance of a character. We render the race, we render the gender, we render the weapon, we render the shirt, we render the pants, and we render the face with params dot race, gender, weapon, shirt, pants, and face. So what is clear appearance? We get the humanoid, we get the player by game.players, wait for get player from character. We check if humanoid exists. If the humanoid doesn't exist, then do not try to work with it because it's gonna break everything. So we get the humanoid description from the player. If the player exists, we're gonna do this. Get humanoid description from user ID, because you can actually do that. And if it doesn't exist, then we're gonna get the description by waiting for child humanoid description. So this is humanoid description. It has all the accessories, the back, the face, the front, the hair, the hat. The reason why I didn't do this with loading the race, loading the stuff, because it's so complicated. You have to re-render the humanoid description, you have to get the humanoid description. It's way easier if you just add in body colors, add in the accessories. But here, we actually need to use it. Why? Because if we don't, look, if we don't use it, then it's gonna turn out like this. It's gonna have 3D faces. Look. See? This doesn't matter. We have this 3D faces. It's the mesh. The face is in the mesh, guys. The reason why it's not moving right now is because I disabled it in starter player. I removed where is it? Enable dynamic heads. If it's enabled, then the face is gonna start moving. It's actually so weird. So yeah, that's the reason why I do that. Now I apply the description. We set the head to 0, head scale to 0, left arm to 0, everything to 0. You can pause this code, you can pause this video and copy this. So now the face isn't 3D anymore and you can use a decal for it. Let's reset. Let's see if there's anything wrong. Alright, it's working fine. That's it. And also you don't need this. And then we render the face. It's simple. Render the race. We get the race by game.replicate storage the assets.race, which is here. We get the rig. We get the body colors. We get the race accessories if it exists. We destroy the character's body colors. We parent the rig's body colors, and we check if the accessory exists. If it does, then it'll clone the accessory. Parented the character. The accessories folder, by the way. We look through the accessories. We get the weld. We get the welds part 0 and we parent it to the character if the body type exists, okay? We render the gender, character, and gender. So we get the character mesh if it exists. If it doesn't, then it's gonna clone it. So if gender is male, then we destroy the character mesh, this is a character mesh right here. Character mesh, see? If the gender is female, then print the female. If character mesh doesn't exist, then we clone it, or we instance.new, we create a new character mesh. We set the mesh ID to this. You can copy the video, pause the video. This is for this body type. Right here. And then we set the body part to torso and parent to character. Render weapon, it doesn't exist yet. Render shirt. Let's remove this print. We get the shirt by shirts find for child to string shirt, because shirt is a number. As you can see, shirts is here. That's all the shirts. So we get the clothing from the character by find for style of class shirt, or if it doesn't exist, then we instance.new shirt. We set the template to the shirt's template, clothing.parent to the character. Same here with the pants, but instead of shirt template, it's pants template. Same with the face. We just create a new decal, or if we don't create a new decal, we get the decal from the head and we change the texture to the assets texture, and that's it. We just clear the appearance, render the face, gender, weapon, shirt, pants, and face. That's it. Now that you know how render appearance works, let's get into the other code. By the way, this is in replicated storage, which means that it can be used from the server and the client. That's the reason why I put it in replicated storage, so we can use it in the customization local script. The reason why I loaded the client instead of in the server is so that it's efficient. Because I think in other games, the player gets teleported to a different customization pad. So when a player joins, it creates a new customization pad in other games, right? And then the player actually gets physically teleported there. So the reason why I used a rig instead of a player is so that it's efficient for the server. So we don't create new teleport pads, so that we don't create new stuff, and we just do it in the client so nothing changes in the server. And if we use our own player, then the player will physically get teleported there and we can see other players. That's a problem. So that's why we teleport the rig instead, so nobody else can see it. Now that we know how render face works, let's go to render gender. It's easy. You can just pause the code. It's pretty self-explanatory. Female button, male button. We render the gender. We put it in client data. Pause this video if you want to. The pants. So we get the profile. Oh my god. We get the profile. We get the render appearance, the previous button, the next button, and the counter. We get the counter state and the max counter, which is the amount of pants we have in the server, in the assets, replica storage. We set the counter text to the current counter. We change next button dot activated. So if the current counter is smaller than the max counter, then if current counter plus 1 is bigger than max counter, then we reset it back to 1. If it isn't, then we increment it by 1. And then we change the text to current counter. We render the pants with the character. Not our character, by the way, the starter rig, workplace.starter rig, because render appearance works with any player, any dummy, and whatnot. And then we put in the current counter. Same thing here. If it's smaller than 1, then we set it to max counter so that it loops. Else, it just increments it with -1. Same thing here. You can pause the code if you want. Same thing with this shirt. As you can see, same thing with the shirt. Except we go game.replicated.assets.shirts. Same thing with the shirts. Weapon and race doesn't exist yet, so don't worry about that. Now that you know how render appearance works, we put it back in customize. We uncomment it here. And in complete, when we make a new code to complete the appearance, so here we make a new folder, customization, complete customization. We get the profile, we get the render appearance module, we get the remote, we make a type for the appearance. And when we get the on-server event, when the player confirms the player has done customizing, we get the appearance, we get the current profile, and then we add in default values. The shirt is the appearance shirt or the shirt in the data. So we put in default values. If we don't, then it's gonna error, because sometimes players don't make changes to the pants and to the face and stuff. And the race will always be the race in our current data, because I don't want it so that the player can control the race and they can do whatever they want. So the reason why I do race later is because I want to implement server-sided logic later. we update the appearance to this parameter here that we added in default values, and then we render the appearance. It's pretty simple. And then when you join, you automatically render the appearance, getting the module, getting the profiles, players added, we get the profile, player character appearance loaded. When the character is loaded, it has everything in the body, like the body part or the humanoid and everything. And then we wait if the profile exists, and we get the profile. We render the appearance by character profile.data.appearance. That's all. So this, we load the appearance when the player joins in, and that's it. Actually, you can just walk around like this, customize. This is a dummy. We add in the face, change the gender to female, complete. As you can see, it works. This is it for this video with just customizing. I hope you enjoyed. It took me a while to make this because I've made it from scratch. Thank you for watching.